I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
$2 million a month for the operations and names of every undercover agent in the world.
In a world of high-tech espionage,
these people are killers.
all that stands between lawlessness and justice
You leave the cop stuff to me.
is one man.
Stage 1 is complete. Right on schedule.
Wesley Snipes.
Schedule's gonna change.
Drop Zone, rated R. Starts Friday, December 9th at theaters everywhere.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time from Alban. If anyone wants to request any other type of videos or topics or reactions or anything random or anything at all, donations, whatever, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both things are down below in the info box. And this is for Drop Zone. This is a 1994 film, and this is a movie that I forgot I had on DVD. It was brand new, never opened, and again, I forgot I had it because the one version I had was a 2-pack with this and Hard Rain with Christian Slater. And Hard Rain I do enjoy. I don't know if that has a Blu-ray. If so, I would love to pick it up, because I do find that an underrated flick. I love to see that in HD. This one I remember not minding, and watching it again, I don't mind. I wouldn't say I love the film. Back in the day, I would say I was like, mediocre. But with the films that have come out today, it's kind of jumped a few notches. Not a bad film, a decent action film. Because there's some really solid stunt sequences, in particular the skydiving scenes. It's competently directed by John Badham. I mean, this is a guy that directed War Games, The Hard Way, of course, War Games with Matthew Broderick, The Hard Way with Michael J. Fox, Stakeout with Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss. And this is when Wesley Snipes was going up in ranks of action films, because he had done Passenger 57, Demolition Man, and then a few years later he would be in Blade. This film, I don't think did the best. I know it was in competition with another movie that also dealt with skydiving called Terminal Velocity with Charlie Sheen. I would say I like that film more than this, because that one, the action scenes, like the crazy, insane ending with the car flying down, right, it seems like falls down forever. Or the bit with Charlie Sheen, the other girl, as they're going, they hit the ejector button last minute, almost do a Die Hard 2 ejector scene moment. I mean, I would say I like the dialogue and the action a bit more than that, but yeah, this is not a bad movie. The plot, Wesley Snipes, he's a U.S. Marshal. He's with his brother, played by Malcolm Jamal Warner from The Cosby Show. And the prisoner they're escorting on a plane is Michael Jeter. This This is a guy, he was the guy with the mouse in The Green Mile. He's been in quite a few other stuff. Like I said, he's a computer expert. And while on their way of escorting this guy, group of bad guys, including Gary Busey. Yes, Gary Busey from Predator 2, the first Lethal Weapon, among many other films. Him and this group of bad guys, they hijack the plane, they escape, they're able to parachute out of there, but sadly, Wesley Snipes' brother gets killed in the process. So, of course, he wants revenge. He wants to find out what's going on with these guys. People are like, oh, they must be dead. There's no way anyone could jump that high. Well, Wesley Snipes goes to find out if anyone can jump from that height. So he goes to Yancy Butler from Hard Target, which she's right there. Never minded Yancy Butler. Always, yeah, never minded her. She was in, like I said, this movie, a few others. I think she did a TV show for a little bit. Was it Witchblade? Can't remember the name of it. But I thought she did a fine job. I mean, this is a year after Hard Target, and I don't know if she got this job because of Hard Target or some other reasoning behind that. But she decides to help Wesley Snipes because her ex-boyfriend, who she still cares for, was one of the bad guys, but Gary Busey took care of that. Now, among the other people in the movie, you have this guy named Kyle Secor as Swoop, who's part of Yancy Butler's team. He's a very quirky guy. He's a maverick who will parachute off of buildings, and I liked him. I liked his sort of unique take where, like, he won't talk to Wesley Snipes until he becomes part of the team, or again his quirky behavior. I thought the actor did a fine job. You also have, I believe his name is Rex Lynn. He's a guy in Cliffhanger who, you're a fucking Section 8, Quaylen. You're a fucking Section 8. My last official manhunt. Adios, motherfucker. And Stallone shoots his ass through the ice. He was also in a bit role in Rush Hour. He was on the TV show CSI Miami, actually, as I'm looking up there, which I'm a fan of that show. So, it was cool to see him in there. What makes the film work, it's not... I almost want to say it's not an action-packed film. Well, okay, let me put it this way. If you love skydiving, because there's a lot of points where Wesley trains in skydiving with Yancy Butler. And there's some really good sequences. But I guess, again, how do you feel about skydiving and skydiving training scenes? If you don't care, I don't know how much you don't care about the movie. Because other than that, you have the hijacking at the beginning. You have a little fight scene where Swoop, the teammate, is getting beaten up by bad guys in a bathroom. And Wesley Snipes kicks some ass, which was a fun, satisfying scene. He's able to showcase a little bit of his martial arts, not as much as other films like Blade and Demolition Man, even when he's fighting Stallone, or even a little bit in Passenger 57. There's a bit where another actor I recognize, Corin Nemec. Corin Nemec, I recognize, he was on some of the TV shows of Stargate SG-1. He's been in some direct-to-video movies. I can't remember what they're called now. They'll come to mind probably after I'm done filming. And then you have the ending. But when the action scenes are there, like I said, they're competently handled by John Badham. It's just not wall-to-wall. It's not a lot of action in this. And again, the plot is fine. Gary Busey and his team of bad guys, they're getting this list of undercover DEA agents, and they're going to sell them to the highest bidder. And they need Michael Jeter, the computer guy, to help get into these computer systems. And they're also part of this competition with other skydivers, because there's a point where they'll be over Washington, D.C., and so Gary Busey's team will use that as cover to slide on down and get into this building and get the shit they need. But with that said, the reason I don't mind the film, Wesley Snipes, talented guy. Talented guy. It sucks what happened after Blade 2, where it wasn't really the best projects, like Blade Trinity sucked. His ego, I gotta say his ego was part of the problem too. So then you result in shitty direct-to-video films like The Detonator and The Marksman and 7 Seconds, which you'll forget about in 5 seconds. So he's either shitty direct-to-video films or taxes. Then he wasn't, which he served longer than a fucking pedophile like Victor Salva. He did shorter jail time, but he gets longer jail time. And it sucked, because I like Wesley Snipes. I do. I'm a fan of Wesley Snipes. Like my friend Michael, I know he's a fan of it. And one day, Michael, if you see this, think of doing a Wesley Snipes marathon. Does it be cool to hear his... I know he loves the Blade films. Blade Trinity he's kind of iffy on. But to hear his thoughts on Passenger 57 and Drop Zone, and even the direct-to-video films. Art of War, I remember not minding. I try to remember what came... Was it Blade 2 or the Art of War? I want to say Blade 2 came out after the Art of War? I want to say it was Blade... The Art of War, was it like 2000? And then... Blade 2? I don't know. I was thinking, like, what was the last good Wesley Snipes film? Well, Dolomite Is My Name. He was solid in that. But, yeah, this is a guy, I love him when White Men Can't Jump. I actually like Money Train. I think it's a bit underrated. It's flawed, but underrated. And again, this is not a bad film. Okay, Matt, you keep saying that. Why is it not a bad film? Like I said, Wesley Snipes does a good job. Yancy Butler holds her own. For people who keep saying, oh, there's never any strong females back. This is another example where they're wrong. She holds her own. Gary Busey, I wouldn't say it's one of his best roles, but it's always nice to see Gary Busey. Again, Lethal Weapon, Predator 2, even, Point Break. He's a solid actor. The score by Hans Zimmer, I forgot there's a point where the character Swoop comes in to save Corin Nemec because during this training, his pack doesn't work because someone cut it before. And he goes in to save it. And that Hans Zimmer music, I forgot. That's the music that you would hear in Pirates of the Caribbean. Now, he changes a little bit up when he does it in Pirates of the Caribbean. But I'm like, this music sounds familiar. Holy shit. And the music is great, especially that moment. That's where music really comes into play of importance. We did wonderful sequences of skydiving, doing it for real, not in front of a fucking computer, green screen shit. So you have real people and these skydiving moments, and the music is on point. I'm like, is this the same music that would be in Pirates of the Caribbean? Many, many years later? Holy shit. I completely forgot about that, but yeah, that's a big plus. And there's a certain look and energy to it, with the way John Badham directs it, and again, the music that's used, the actors involved. There's an energy that it never got boring. Never got boring. The whole skydiving school, how Wesley Snipes is trained, like floating, and you have these air canisters, and having to train yourself to float to a certain point. It's not something you see every day. So that made it a little bit different. Again, the bad guys, they're playing the list of DEA agents. It's not, whatever. It's not really anything that made me go. Gary Busey did fine. But there's not a lot of intense moments I could think of Gary Busey, like Predator 2. When I think of Predator 2, I think of the scene, the lions, the tigers, the bears, oh my. You're the lion. This is a jungle. There's none of that I think of when I think of this character, or even Surviving the Game, which he has very limited screen time, but there's like a story tells to Ice-T, and I would butcher it, but just go watch Surviving the Game. Like, that's a pretty decent film. Gary Busey, wish he was in it more, but like that, I remember that speech he gives. This, he's okay, but it's nothing remarkable. I think maybe some stronger pieces of dialogue, some stronger scenes for Gary Busey would have been nice. And the finale, the finale's kind of so-so for me. The fight he has with Gary Busey, it's not really much of a fight, honestly. Spoilers, starting now. Spoilers, it's pretty much, they shoot at each other, they got guns on each other, click, click, no bullets. Kind of punches Gary Busey a few times. They both jump out the window. He parachutes. Gary Busey falls. And it was kind of laughable when Gary Busey fall and going, ah, ah. And then it looked goofy where his body, and there's another bad guy driving the truck, and see the body go into the windshield. Like, the way it's done is like, did Gary Busey become Superman? Because he's fallen, but I swear there's a moment where he floats this way, too. Like, he's fallen, but I guess he's supposed to be like, it's not supposed to be laughable, but it did make me laugh. I don't know why. I don't know why, man. So, like I said, I don't think it's a classic. I'm sorry, I'm not going to call it underrated. It's one of those decent B-movie. There's a budget behind it, slick enough production, cinematography. It doesn't look cheap, I'm not going to say that. And let's say Hans Zimmer's score, not up to par with Broken Arrow and some of those, but still a pretty decent score. Then Wesley Snipes, I would say Passenger 57 is a little bit more satisfying. My favorites is still Demolition Man, Blade 2, when it comes to Wesley. Like I said, Terminal Velocity, the other skydiving movie, I got more fun out of that with pieces of the dialogue and Charlie Sheen's performance, and it felt like there was more action, or a little bit more variety of action. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's not, but it felt that way for me. I don't know, just... Oh, you swallowed the worm. I like the way that was read a bit more than this. But yeah, this, not a bad film. Not a bad film at all. So, that's Drop Zone. Says here, if you like the adrenaline rush of speed, see what a free fall from a plane traveling 200 miles an hour does for you. So yeah. Right there, I guess it tells you that, well, Speed came out in 94 as well. Speed I would put above this, but Drop Zone, yeah. Compared to movies today, is pretty decent. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.